Let's talk a little bit about this, the lake effect. Now, you have written 4 books before, all sports-related comments, 3 comments-related, one with Lloyd Ball. But this is a different approach, a whole different angle, a whole different side to your writing, the lake effect. Tell us about it.
It's a novel. It's one an idea I've had for 20 years. And then I could never figure out how to write it, and I went out to visit a buddy in California, and we were driving down the Pacific Coast Highway with some friends of his, and somebody suggested, how do I write it? And I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And so that helped it go, but then my father got pancreatic cancer a couple years ago, and he said that you got to write the book before I die so I can send it to Oprah. I'm like, well, thanks, Dad, no pressure, you know, I mean, but that was really what I needed to get some motivation to get it going. It's an idea I've had for 20 years. It's sometime between the ages of 22 and 32, everyone has a moment in their life where after that moment they realize they are an adult, although they may not have recognized that moment. It could be the death of a parent, it could be becoming a parent, it could be getting married, it could be losing a job. No one else can define it, what your moment was, except you can define it. And usually what intrigued me about this as a novel idea is usually when I tell people that premise, they all know within 30 seconds exactly what I'm talking about was in their life. And I always thought that would make a good idea for a book because it's something that everyone can relate to. For my father, his was boot camp. For my mother, it was when she broke off an engagement with someone. For another friend of mine, it was when he lost his job. Another friend of mine, it was when he got pulled over for presumed drunken driving. He was not, but he said that moment really scared him enough and made him realize, I can't take a chance with this anymore. I've got kids at home. I need to grow up. And so what I do in the book is I track 16 friends from college. Some of these stories are true, and some of them are made up. And I track, the narrator tracks them down 15 years after college, and just ask them what their moment was, and there's essentially 16 separate chapters on one on each person, and what they decide their moment was.
For you, being such a different form of writing, you kind of expose more what's in your head to people out there. You had to feel a little naked when this book comes out.
Big time. I mean, exactly. I mean, I've been on a nervous wreck for a couple of weeks knowing this was coming because, you're really just throwing this out there and you're exposing yourself, and essentially, not in the biblical sense, thank goodness for you.
Fig leaves and everything.
Yeah, but you hope people like it. You really are. You're really just throwing it out there, and you're kind of at the mercy if people like it or not. So far, the people who have read it really seem to enjoy it, and that's an incredible blessing. But like I said, I always thought it'd be a good idea for a book because it is something that I think everyone can relate to.
For you, what was the toughest part about putting this together? I mean, you write in the newspaper every day. You've written books about the comments about sports. What was the biggest transition for you?
Well, as you can imagine, you don't want to go home and tape video, every night when you're done working here all day. Sometimes for me it was like, gee, do I really want to go home after writing all day and write some more? But it was a totally different kind of writing, so it was more relaxing. You can get in. I was getting into a different rhythm where I could just zone out and just totally just go and let it fly and see what would happen. Some days I'd write 20 pages, some days I'd write 2. It just depended on where my head was at and how much I could relax and how much the cat would leave me alone. I could just go, and it just flew out of me some days. It was exciting, and it was very relaxing too. It was very kind of cathartic in a way.
Well, tell us where we can get a copy of this.
Well, it's Bauer Communications is the publishing company. They're a local company. And it's Bauer. It's you can buy it at booksbybauer.com, Bauer, and you can also get it at the Book Rack and Mitchell Books and every other book on Crescent and some of the independent bookstores in town, Village Books in Northcrest, I believe. And you can also order it online. And then in a month or so, we'll be able to have it in the big chains, and we'll do some more book signings and things. It's $15. I don't know if we're allowed to say that or not. The other night I got in trouble.
Did you?
Because we weren't allowed to say that. So it's $15.
$19.95 Canadian, though.
Yeah,
across the border. I guess it's like
exactly.
Hockey
so
fans.
it's not as expensive from my other books, but that's partially because I was able to get this publisher. They have a program called the American Author Program, kind of patterned after your favorite TV show, maybe, where they're trying to find new authors and help them get going. And Patrick Boylan and Debbie Bauer have just been amazing to work with. This has been a much less stressful publishing experience because of them, and I haven't had to worry about all that stuff. I can just rely on them, and they've just been amazing.
All right. Well, I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. I've enjoyed it so far, and looking forward to finishing it up. Congratulations. It's quite an accomplishment. It's pretty amazing.
I was able to get it done for Mom and Dad and for some people, and I'm very, very happy about that, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
All right. There you go. That'll do it for this week's edition of Inside the Zone. He's Blake. I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next week.